Hi there YouTube, thanks very much for joining me. I'm Dean, this is Woodwork Journey, and today's video is a little bit different. It's about what that camera is mounted on more than anything else. However, this is not camera specific because you can use that bit of kit for a whole bunch of things, which I'll talk about in a little while. So hopefully more people than just camera people will get some benefit from doing something like this. However, I am going to give you a little bit of a backstory as to what's happened and why I'm doing it. So since I've started on this channel, I've been basically using my iPhone 13 to do the recording, and that was something that just made things easier for me. It meant that when I came into the workshop, I could just hit it and get straight into things, and I didn't have to set anything up even. The problem with that is that it doesn't really satisfy that sort of creative aspect of my personality. In my previous YouTube channel that had nothing to do with woodworking, I did spend a lot of time on the studio and on the filming and on the lighting and on all the bits and bobs. So I kind of missed that. And recently I was going to bring my old Fuji X-T3 out to do a whole bunch of things. However, I chopped that in a couple of days ago and I'm now a Sony shooter, which is a bit of a shocker. So this is my first video I've ever recorded on this camera. Anyway, for those that are interested, it's an A6700 and I'm using a Tamron 18 to 50 2.8. So there you go, there's that. Now then, so what it's going to mean is I've also added lights or switches to these lights so I can turn them on or off, and I've got 4 lights dotted around the workshop. I've only got one on at the moment, and that gives me this kind of look, which I think is a nice maybe intro. It might be too dark, I don't know. Do you like it? Anyway, what I'm going to do now is show you. I will record on this camera exactly what I'm looking at, and here we go. So we've got up the top here, and then I'm going to bring it down, and there you can see the camera. And so basically it's an arm, okay, no biggie going on there, and fairly straightforward construction. However, at the top here I've also got it on a rolling rig, so I can move things closer, so I can speak to you like this if I want to. Turn that off. Or I can move it further away because it's on bearings, and I can stand in the same place, and this is the difference in the shot. It might be wobbling, don't know. But yeah, so I've got all of these options, and also this is where my main workbench is, right here. So if I turn the camera around, I can show you another view that we've got as well. So this is one of the many views that we've got, but you can see that things are a little bit dark. So let me turn on the other ceiling lamp and the back one. And now we've got a very bright area that I can darken down if I want to, or if I want to make it more moody, I can do that as well. And this is kind of a nice little area to show off some stuff, although it's a little bit overexposed for these bits and bobs at the moment. But anyway, my point is that this system is absolutely usable in a bunch of different ways, and I think it's going to be really interesting because after just hitting the 10,000 subscribers, and thank you so much for everyone that has subscribed to the channel, I'm hoping to make things look a little bit more professional. I used to spend way too much time on videography, which is why it was the only thing that kept my last channel going, so it's the only thing that I had any interest in, really. And so if I can bring a little bit of that to this, then that'd be great. But we are using a new setup. It's going to take me a while to get used to lighting and all that sort of nonsense, but hopefully it'll be something that's quite cool. Anyway, to the point of the video, let me grab the camera and I'm going to show you more of exactly what I've got going on up here. Right, I'm going to try and do a smooth pan shot, but I haven't got one of my nice tripods out here. So this is the whole thing. So it's fairly simple and straightforward, like I mentioned, but it is going to do a great job. And as I said earlier on, not just for me, but also for people that want to do other things. And those things could be, when you've got something like this in the workshop, you could use this to hold the guard over the top of a table saw, for instance. So I don't know if this is in frame, I don't think it is, but I could twist this around and it could be extended over to hold the crown guard on a table saw. Something else, especially if you're like a lathe person, you could bring this forward And you could have a light mounted on this. I'll tell you about how I've used it in a minute. But yeah, you could have a light that you could move down. You could have a hose attached to it if you wanted extra dust collection and you wanted things to just move out of the way. Then easy to do. And I know you're going, well, that's a big monstrosity to have in the workshop, Dean. I'm fully aware of that. That's why up the top here, I can take it off the mount right up there, and then I can move it and get it completely out of the way. However, if I want it, I can also have it up here like so, and then I can just undo these knobs and move it pretty much out of the way of me being able to smack my head on it, you know. So in fact, I've got to just do a corner on the top of there, but I haven't done yet. But yeah, so that's what it does, and it could be really useful to anybody who wants to have this kind of thing for a whole bunch of different things. So let me just break it down a little bit more for you. So right up the top there, we do have a camera mount, and not everybody's going to have one of those knocking around, and I get that. However, I did, so it's one that I used. You can probably find various fluid heads and tripod heads and so on for super cheap on the internet, on Amazon, and also probably on Marketplace as well. And they're special. There's nothing special about it. They're removable Arca Swiss plates, and they do a grand job. I've got two of them on this setup. That's the one at the top, and then that's the one at the bottom. Okay, so that's the only specialist equipment that I've got here, but you could quite happily get those if you wanted to. Like I say, cheap as chips. I'll try and find a link and put some in the description down below. Now then, what about these rather nice knobs we've got here? They stick out quite far, and that's quite lovely. I had my arm in the way that whole time. There we go. They stick out quite far. And these bad boys, have I made it go out again? Oh, there we go. These bad boys I 3D printed. So that didn't cost me anything either. Now, when it comes to the wood that I used, I didn't use anything particularly, well, I mean, this is oak, but I didn't use it because it's oak. I used it because I recently had a load of reclaimed oak, and I thought this would be a good use for it. And it does a grand job. You can see that it wobbles about a bit, but it does stabilise itself fairly quickly, especially if you give it a little bit of a knock. Now then, at the top here, attached to the Arca Swiss plate right at the top, there we go, get it on there, Dean. Then I've just got a block of wood, a U-shaped block of wood, and then I've got 3 pieces coming away from that. I've then got 2 pieces in there, and then I've got 1 piece in here. That could be 3, 2, 3. It could be 2, 3, 2. It could do whatever you want, but it just means that I've got full kind of animation, if you like, when I loosen these bad boys up. Now, what I didn't think about at the top with this U-shaped piece here is that doesn't move as obviously as nicely as I'd like when I tighten things down. So I might have to just redo this a little bit differently, but otherwise it's still working. And then right on the end here, I've got just kind of a funky little bit, almost like a U-shaped piece again, and mounted another fluid head on the top of that. But the exciting thing on all of this is what's going on up here. So you may identify the fact that this is just for twin slot shelving. So I bought 2 of these at 2 meters long, I think they are, and that cost me about 20 quid, something like that, which I thought was cheap as chips. And then in here, I'll show you a picture of when I was making it, but there's just another block of wood. There's a bit of metal that I cut off something random, bit of aluminium. I just stuck a little bit of wood inside it to give it some extra strength. I then put some bolts through there and attached bearings, and that is what runs inside the twin slot. Right at the end over there, I did have to just put a little bit of a spacer block in, and then I've just added some little L-shaped brackets to mount it to the ceiling. So these little L-shaped brackets cost next to nothing, and job's a good one. I don't know if that'll be blown out on camera because I'm still working around with S-Log3. Anyway, it all came to $22.58, and that is for the twin slot shelving. It's for a little packet of M4 nuts, and it's also for the L-shaped brackets. So £22, and that gave me all of that. And as I said, you could use this for so many more things rather than just a place to put your camera. Although if you're a social media whore like I am, then you might want to do that as well. But yeah, just for putting lighting where you want it, or dust collection where you want it, or a crown guard, or anything like that. Even if it was just holding tools, you could put a little tool holder on it and then wheel it around where you are in the workshop and have access to a square and a pencil and a ruler, or you know, things like that. Just so they're always on hand and you don't keep putting them down onto a desk and forgetting all about them. Do you get me? So yeah, that's what I made. It's fairly straightforward, but it cost me next to nothing. And like I said, it's just mainly made from scrap. I had old bearings that I've been used in, I've used in other things. I think they've gone a bit rusty, but they still work. And yeah, I mean, it kind of moves pretty well. And so for 22 quid and a bit of time, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest with you. Let me know what you think, if you think it's a good idea, if it's something you think you could use in your workshop. And also let me know what you think about the lighting when filming, and tell me if it's been worthwhile going through this change. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.